Today I'm in Prosser at the Walter Clore Wine and Culinary Center. I'm meeting with Melissa Hansen, the Research Program Manager for the Washington State Wine Commission, an organization that represents all wine grape growers and each licensed winery in the state. Over a glass of wine, we're talking about the history of Washington wine growers and why Washington produces some of the best wine in the world.
Well, let's kind of go back in history a little bit and tell me about how Washington wine industry got started here.
The wine industry is actually closely linked to Concord grapes.
Okay.
Back in the early 1900s, there were little pockets of grapes, all types of grapes grown in the state. There was a very small, but it was growing, but a very small little industry because you can make wine out of any fruit, obviously.
Yeah.
So it was a little different style of wine than what we drink today, very sweet wine.
Out of the Concord grapes.
Out of the Concord grapes, and they just blended all the grapes. And things were starting to grow, and then came Prohibition. 1919,
Reached it to a halt.
put the brakes on.
Yeah.
Melissa explains that when Prohibition started, it actually created a boom for Concord grapes in Washington because homeowners were allowed to make up to 200 gallons of wine in their home without a permit. With that allowance, there was a sudden demand for grapes across the country.
So Prohibition lifted, and yes, wineries sprang back to life. And there were about 42 right about the time when Prohibition lifted. At that same time, though, Dr. Walter Clore, who the center is named after, came to WSU as a horticulturalist, and he saw potential in our state as a premium wine producer. So he was sort of our little Johnny Appleseed, and he went throughout the state and worked with growers and planted a few trials, a few grapes here and there, and planted Vitis vinifera, the European grapes.
Research is a cornerstone of our Washington wine industry. Because of Walter Clore's research and vision, Washington is now the second largest producing wine region in the nation, with more than 900 wineries and 50 to 65,000 acres of grapes.
What's some of the research that's going on right now that you can talk about for the wine industry?
Oh, we have, like I mentioned, there's about $1 million of projects. Everything from how to fine-tune the irrigation for white varieties. We know how to do it with red. We focus now on the white. Vineyard mechanization, obviously labor is becoming a big issue. So we're making sure that if you use mechanical thinners and mechanical pruners, that it doesn't negatively impact the quality. All of the research that we do has an overriding goal to improve wine quality.
Melissa says both the Wine Commission and the industry itself facilitates and directly supports the wine research being done, which is another unique trait about Washington wine.
I think we should toast to Dr. Clore, right?
To Dr. Clore.
And Washington wines.
And Washington wines.